clarify when they say like, you know, the salary here of a nurse in the UK is quite low. They might be referring to being a NHS nurse, because that's, you know, it's not exactly, you know, a lot. But when you come here to work as an agency, that would be a different thing. Hey guys, it's Danica and welcome back to my channel. To those who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Danica. I'm a registered nurse in the Philippines, here in the UK and in the US as well. But for today's video, we will be talking about being a nurse here in the UK. So if you guys are interested in this video, then please keep on watching. Alright guys, so today's video, it's gonna be back to the basics really. So I was thinking what topic I should talk about, and this will probably benefit those who are, you know, still thinking about being a nurse here in the UK and those who just arrived here to become a nurse in the UK. So this is one of the things that actually is my biggest misconception probably when I came to work here as a nurse in the UK, that, you know, I'm just going to work as a nurse in the NHS and then that's my only option. But actually there are different types of, you know, nursing here in the UK, really different roles actually for nurses as well. So it's really big. It's really broad, like there's different types of opportunities. But we will just focus on the three types of nurses here in the UK, which is a NHS nurse, a bank nurse, and an agency nurse. So these three types of nurses, this is probably what I didn't understand initially, like what are the differences, you know. So when I came here to work as a nurse in the UK in 2019, I was in the emergency department, and most of our team is not just composed of NHS, you know, full-time or part-time nurses, but sometimes I would hear them say, oh, I'm just a bank, so I don't know that, or like, oh, I'm an agency, I don't really, you know, deal with that, and things like that. So like, okay, so what is really the difference? So why are you a bank, why am I NHS, and why are you an agency? So yeah, I didn't really understand. So anyway, to begin this topic, I will just speak first about being an NHS nurse, which I am a full-time NHS nurse. So being employed as an NHS nurse doesn't mean you need to be full-time. There are also part-time or sometimes just, you know, flexible hours, really depending on, of course, your manager and your trust. But this is most common because for international nurses to become, you know, a nurse here in the UK, we need a sponsorship. So it's usually the NHS that will be able to sponsor us. I think some agency companies do also sponsor nurses, but I don't think it's actually common. So most of us nurses that are employed here is through the NHS basically. So when we say NHS, it's by their government. So NHS stands for National Healthcare System. So if I'm going to compare it to the Philippines, we are government nurses here in the UK basically. Also, if you're wondering guys, because we are on a contract, a skilled worker visa, there's a certain salary that we need in order to, like, you know, be able to support ourselves, like, you know, things like that. So we usually need to be a full-time. We can't really go part-time. And of course, I'm sure you heard this if you're still thinking about going in the UK, when we say band 5, band 6, band 7 nurses. So what are these really? So for just a quick information, band 5 is like the entry level for a new band 5 nurse, or when you're coming wherever part of the country and you came in here to work as a nurse in the UK, even though you have years of experience, you will be treated as a band 5 nurse, and you cannot really apply immediately to be a band 6 no matter what your experience is before coming here in the UK. So you can apply to go for a higher position once you're here already, like a band 6 or a band 7, which is band 7 is like a managerial role already. You can be a band 8 as well, which is like a department head or something like that. Yeah, you can progress as well in the NHS. So that's a quick one for being an NHS nurse. Now we'll talk about the bank staff. So these are actually temporary workers, that is to fill in with like sickness or short staff, and they are still employed by the NHS basically, but they don't get the full benefits of working as a substantial, you know, member of the NHS basically. But the thing about being a bank is they are flexible. They can book their shifts and they can choose what hours, and they can work in different wards. And like being a NHS nurse, which means that you can only work in your area. For example, you're assigned in ED, so you just work in ED. The thing with being an NHS nurse, you can actually also sign up for a bank. So that's what I did when I left A&E, because I went to an outpatients department. We don't really have much enhancements, so if I wanted to work back again in A&E or in other wards, I can book it through a bank. So you can be a full-time NHS worker and you can also be a bank, so you can just do, you know, overtime or extra, you know, extra shifts with other departments, or if you want to be, you know, explore other departments as well, that would be a great opportunity. But basically that's what it means to be a bank staff. Also guys, we can't really be a bank staff when we're employed under a skilled worker visa, because being a bank, you don't really have like, you know, an annual salary of something. So it really depends on you how many shifts you can do. So it just wouldn't work for us if we need a certain amount of salary or, you know, hours that we need to. And I don't think the trust will allow it as well, because we're under their sponsorship. So it's usually a full-time NHS if you're going here by contract. And of course, last but not the least is being a agency nurse. So yes, if you've been watching me for some time, I've mentioned before that it is actually like my dream to become an agency nurse. So why do you want to be an agency nurse? So to those who doesn't know yet, agency nurses really earn a lot. When I say a lot, like 3 to maybe 5 times more what the NHS nurses are earning. This is what I couldn't understand, and I still could not understand with the NHS and like the whole system, really. Like, why are they willing to actually, you know, pay agency nurses that much when their staff is actually striking? But obviously I don't really know how it works and like what's actually, you know, what do you call it, the logic about that, but you know, that's just my sentiment basically. So yeah, agency nurses, obviously they're not directly employed by the NHS, but you will still work in an NHS hospital. So again guys, they really earn more depending on what area, or like obviously if they're doing night shifts, bank holiday or weekends, so it all adds up. What I can say about the cons of being an agency nurse is actually you don't get the benefits. So you will pay for your insurance, or if you became sick, they won't really pay you, because for agency nurses it's like no work, no pay. So that's only the cons. But basically, if you're gonna compare the actual salary, maybe let's say their 3 shifts is my month's worth of salary. So that's the thing. So yes, those are some of the types of nurses here in the UK. So again, I'm making this video because I wanted to let my, you know, fellow international nurses out there that if you want to be a bank at some point, once you have your citizenship or indefinite leave to remain, or if you want to be an agency, then that could be your route probably. But if you wanted to stay with the NHS, that's not really bad actually, because you know, you have this security that you actually have like a full employment, you know. But actually guys, this is what I forgot to mention. You can be a substantial NHS nurse, you can be a bank, and you can be an agency nurse as well, all at the same time. Or if you want to be a part-time NHS, then part-time agency, then you can do it as well. So you can actually mix and match. You can actually combine these types of jobs as well, whatever works for you. But also just think about, you know, the tax and things like that. But yeah, whichever type of, you know, nurse you'd want to be here in the UK, there's actually, you know, different types of employment you can have. And last but not the least as well, I would just want to clarify when they say like, you know, the salary here of a nurse in the UK is quite low. They might be referring to being a NHS nurse, because that's, you know, it's not exactly, you know, a lot. But when you come here to work as an agency, that would be a different thing, because it's like, it could be equivalent to being a nurse in the US. So yes, but that's, you know, most people doesn't really know that there's different types of nurses here in the UK really. So they only think of NHS, that's why most of the people say, oh, it's really low and things like that. But actually, if you just work around, you know, these types of you know, jobs, then you can actually probably earn more. But for now, it's very limited for me as well because I'm still under the skilled worker visa. But you know, who knows in the future if I stay here in the UK or go to the US. So whew, I really don't know yet. And yes, I think I need to end this vlog now. I hope this video helps. I know there's more to it about being an NHS or being a bank or being an agency, but at least I give you something to like think about, and maybe you can do your own research as well if you want to know more about these things. And also, please comment down below if you have further questions, and I will try to answer them if I know it. So yes, thank you for watching this video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something, and I'll see you again in my next one.